Afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you're watching this program of mine today, LinkedIn Live, called Stories of Serendipity and Synchronicity. And I'm having this show because I just have always been curious about the awe and wonder of life, like why things happen the way they happen. And ever since I was a child, I was inquisitive, and I was the one who was going, but why, but how come? And I always need to figure things out. And sometimes things can't be figured out. The events of life unfold as they do. And sometimes it's miraculous. And sometimes even the pain teaches us lessons. Like, I believe that pain is the touchstone of spiritual growth. And so that's how the story, the name of the title of this show came about. Stories of Serendipity and Synchronicity, about these coincidences, or are they coincidences? Is it God? What is it? How does this happen? And so I'm really, really excited today that my guest is Sheetal, and she and I connected through her show, serendipitously, through LinkedIn. I saw that she had a radio show,
correct,
on Bollywood. And so I said, well, I'll be a guest on your show. And so then one day, someone canceled, and in great need, she called me, can you go on tomorrow? And I'm like, okay. I try to say yes. For most of my life, I try to say yes. So,
yeah, but Joan, what's meant to be is meant to be.
Exactly. So here's her book, but we're going to talk way more about it. The title is Custodial Battle: Chronicles of an Immigrant Mother Who Was Delayed Justice in Family Law Due to Immigrant Status. So we're going to have lots of fun talking about the book and going through the journey. And first, I will have Sheetal introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Joan. Thank you for honoring me and bringing me on your show. Definitely, we all have miracles in our lives. And I believe in it because I think every day when we wake up, it's a miracle, especially in today's day and age. And secondly, I believe in my life, if that high power up there wasn't there, I wouldn't be where I am. So I am Sheetal OHRI. I am an individual who believes in making a difference. And I believe everybody else in my life I have met or I have been around, they all make a difference in some form or way, including you, Joan. We all try to bring positivity. We all try to bring the culture of our values, what we have learned, what we have been given from our parents or our families, and we just go on from there. So I am Sheetal OHRI, who has now authored a book because I had been through some similar situations as the book has, and I just thought, why not share it? So yeah, a little bit about me. I am an individual just like everybody, but I do believe in making a difference.
I was thinking last night, I was out doing some shopping, and you just came to mind, and just completing a book is such a big task.
Correct.
I think so many people have an idea of writing a book, but then actually doing it. There is here it comes, she may be a friend of yours, Marty Turner.
No.
Oh, okay, Marty, congratulations for joining us. This is going to be a fantastic show. Write any comments or questions you have in the chat, and we'll get to them.
Thank you, Marty, for joining us.
Yeah. It's interesting. When you were just talking, it reminded me of this book from years ago called, there was a guy that wrote this book called Tuesdays with Maury, and he sat on a park bench every Tuesday with this elderly man and just got to know him. Then he wrote a book, and then later he wrote, I can't think of his name, Mitch something, and then he wrote a book called The 5 People You'll Meet in Heaven. And his philosophy was, his story went that it's not going to be anybody who you think it's going to be. So that when you said making a difference in people's lives, it made me think of that you impact so many people and you don't even know it.
Correct.
Just a quick conversation, and now you have it in book form to talk about. So let's just start quickly at the beginning. You're a nice young woman that lives in London. And what were you doing in London?
I was a general manager of hotels over there,
Oh, you were in the
working in
hotel
hotels,
business.
always
Right.
been a hospitality and hotels and restaurant person. So yeah, I was working as a general manager. I mean, after I finished working in India, I got an opportunity, an offer to work in London, and I took it. Again, families in India, or our culture, are very, very traditional. It was too tough to kind of convince my parents, but my brothers helped, and they said, "Let her fly her wings. Let her go. It's okay." So I guess parents kind of said, "Okay." And then I had family there as well, so kind of it worked out. So came to London, worked in restaurants for a year as the PR and marketing and branding manager, opened up their biggest restaurant in London in the most very, very kind of chic area, which is Chiswick. I don't know, many people here don't know, but people in London can relate who are listening to us or who I will be promoting this to. And then later on, after a year and a half, I decided to go back in the hotels, and I joined a group of hotels called Aristal Groups with the Best Western chain. And Best Western is a very big brand name in UK. So I was in central London as a general manager of hotel, and yeah, life just was great.
Life was great. But there was one thing missing. You wanted to be in a relationship. So you got
Yeah.
together with this guy who was wonderful.
Yes, honestly speaking, I always would say wonderful because he is my son's father. So, we met, and then I had to go through a lot of struggle, and that has toughened me up today because when I came here, things were not as they were supposed to be, and kind of just kept on going because I was, carrying my son and wanted to make it work. But unfortunately, things didn't go as, I planned, and I don't think things usually do, right? There's always another side to our life, and you keep on going because end of the day, you are responsible for your child you've given birth to. So I guess that's my story about it. And the last 14, 15 years, I guess I've kind of struggled, juggled, and kind of made it work because being a single mom's not easy, but being a single mom who had to go through a lot of roller coasters and still make a confident name and a brand name who people respect and say, "Oh, Sheetal, yeah, she's great. Sheetal, yes, we know her." I've been I've been on the commission of the city I had lived at. I've been given state and Senate awards for my work. My company has been awarded. So just to get that respect and command that respect has made me give up a lot of things, which is, my personal life. It hasn't been easy again. But then, for me, today, when I look back, I don't have any regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is any regret where I would say that, oh, why didn't I get remarried? Or why didn't I just, have an affair or do things and this and that? And no, I'm just happy because, in this course of 14, 15 years, I have helped people along the way. I have created a brand name. I have created companies. I have created events. I have been on the board of a lot of nonprofits. So kind of just, giving back from what I was getting because I thought I was getting something. So I wanted to give back. I think God just gave me 10 folds of it in
That is
God's own
beautiful.
ways.
That is beautiful. The way you just said that, that is beautiful. God gave me tenfold. Yeah. It says somewhere in the Bible that you'll get back tenfold. But we don't really need to go into the story too much because people can buy your book and read
Correct.
about the ups and downs and
Yeah.
how the 10 years went by and how at one point you had no contact with your son at all until at the end you got custody of your son, and that took 10 years. But when we talked about serendipity and synchronicity before we came on live, you said that you were really helped by a nonprofit. And I know when I read the book, now, of course, that's me reading it as a white American who's always been American. I mean, back 2 or 3 generations, we've been American. So I wondered when I was reading the book, like, where are you going to get help? I wouldn't even know to just reach out to every nonprofit and say, this is my story. Can you help me? So you mentioned specifically her in your book, in the credits.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us a little bit more about, I didn't underline her.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and do that,
Sure.
Joan. So the story is about an immigrant mom. It's a fiction. What I had been through was totally or many times different what then this character of my book is. But definitely without any help, you can move forward. And that's why I said the miracles have happened with me. I have just seen them happen every day of my life, because when you are left without any kind of resources to come back, but you've been an honest person, an honest citizen, an honest, individual and human being in India or UK, and then even here, you haven't done anything wrong, then what do? So when you reach out to the consulates, you reach out to the Washington, D.C. units for children, you reach out to the nonprofits, somewhere along the line, they help you. And you are one of those 100,000 cases which come to them. So you are picked up and you're helped. How? I believe there is a higher power up there who kind of made that happen. And yes, my persistence to make sure that, I leave no stone unturned to be with my child. So I reached out to nonprofits, and NARCA, which is a nonprofit here in the Bay Area, actually returned my call. And this particular person who was my advocate, Rupa, she, came forward. She was seeing my journey every step of the way. And like I said, we're meeting soon, probably next week or so, for me to actually sign the book and give it to her in person, because she says she wants to celebrate with me on all these years and whatever I have been through. Because she has been, even though she no longer works, but she still is in touch with me, trying to understand what I did and what's going on with my son and all of that. So it was a nonprofit which helped me. And then they continue to help me with other nonprofits who could get me into the immigration process. So it is very tedious journey, but then these helpful people or nonprofits are the people who actually helped, and that's why I am where I am.
Yeah, and that you were a success story for her.
Yes, she says that. She says that herself.
So you said like 100,000, and I know you just made that number up, but
yes, but if you actually Google it, there are cases, women from India, women from other countries, they are left at times by the spouses without any status, taking their children away or just leaving children and them back home and then just coming back. It's just a common thing. Yes, women are getting smarter, but then that whole thing about, okay, you're married now, you want to be with this man, you want to trust this man, that kind of keeps it going, right? But end of the day, there are many cases, dime a dozen, I would say, where, it has happened. I never thought it would happen to me, honestly. An educated person, gone to the best universities, gone to the best schooling in India, a literate person, being in London, never ever thought. But then it did happen, right? So it can happen to anybody. The only thing is, how are you going to construe it? Are you going to take it positive, or are you going to just kind of say, okay, I'm going to just go into that deep depressive cell and then just forget all about it, So I had to be positive. I had to. And I think that positivity kind of kept on motivating me to be where I am and help people, other women, other parents. And that's what led me to even write the book.
And to continue to get up every single day, that a lot of people give up, and you just were like, I am not going to give up. So
I just had no choice. I knew my son was waiting. I had no choice.
I 100% with my kids. I was like a mama bear, like, don't even try to get in my way. Yeah. And so you're stuck in India and you don't have a way to get back to America, and you find a way to come back to America and start your fight with the courts. And then you ended up getting, Rupka helped you get a green card so you could stay.
Yeah, no, she didn't help me. She introduced me to another nonprofit who actually filed for my. Yeah, they are one of the largest and the biggest here in San Francisco area, so that helped. But it's just, as I said, the process kind of keeps on going. Immigration status, as we all know, is a must. In any country, you're living in. It's just very important. And so as a spouse, as somebody who you are either bringing on board as your spouse from another country, or if you're marrying a nationality of a different country, then you have to make sure that your paperwork is in progress, and not just believe the other person who's trying to tell you, hey, you know what? I filed it. Don't worry about it. I filed it. Don't worry about it. You have to worry about it. It's your life. I didn't think about it at that moment, but today I'm trying to tell people, stand up for your rights. You have a right. I didn't know about any rights when I was here. I just believed, right? So you have a right. There are nonprofits, there's police, there's everybody who can help you. Just pick up the phone. There's a emergency hotlines. You can just call them directly. Don't have to be scared, because when you're scared, then the other party actually takes advantage of that scaredness, and your child will not be taken away because you are the parent or you're the mother, and it's not your fault if the concerned citizen has not filed for you. You have done no wrong. So just talk to the resources, talk to the people, talk to immigration attorneys, or there's pro bono. There are libraries around each and every city. Every city has a library where these attorneys give their time, because they have to give that certain amount of time to do pro bono work. Just look out for those resources. People have to go and find those resources. Everything is online. I mean, when I started this journey, the internet was just kind of trying to come up. We didn't have this much where at the click of a button you find everything. We still had to go onto the computer and log on. So it's just right now everything is just handy. You just have to look at it, but just be smart about it. And there's nobody who can take anything, your rights or your legal rights away. Don't have to be scared.
Yeah, so that kind of answers the question of people that are going to say, I'm not smart enough to do it. I don't have enough money to do it. So you're kind of answering those questions, or you're discounting that, no, everyone can do this.
Yes,
everyone can do
because Joan, in our family law codes, we have self-help centers. When you go there, they give you the forms, they give you the insight, they try to make you understand. And then libraries of our cities, you go there, they have specific days when you can go, and they kind of help you fill those forms. So the attorneys are there who give their time for the pro bono work. So you just have to kind of know these things, that the court system, like for me, the first day to enter a court was scary. Even till date, I think I haven't been to court for many years now, but every time I did, that little palpitation, that flutter, that stress, it's always there, because it's a court where you have to now go through the same old motion of attorneys talking, attorneys fighting, then judge giving decisions. And also, I've seen many cases in front of me like that, right? And I've seen people who come there who are not represented, and heard them talk. But then, the judge always directs them, hey, go down, you will have to go to the SelfHelp Center, go get the forms, or go to the mediators, court mediators, and they will help you file. So all those resources are available in all our court system. All of our, in the US, each county has their own court, and each court has their SelfHelp centers.
Amazing. And it takes time and persistence and resilience, because what I know of the courts and what I read in your book, you might wait for 2 hours. You have 5 minutes with the judge, and then he says you have the wrong form. And then you have to go back and then make an appointment.
Another court hearing.
And so it's going to take time. It's going to take persistence. And you know what? It's going to take what I think that comes through so clearly in your book, a deep mother's love, like the bond. There is just nothing we can say about the bond of a child and their parents, and especially their mother. Of course, right. I'm being biased because we're women, but that it just makes you get up the next day and go, okay, all right, I'm going to do it. And while you're doing this, you have a full-time job?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That initially, when I started, I had a job for a year. Then when the time increased, I actually left and I started my own company. So as I said, social media was just coming up and I was very good with that. So I opened my own company, got some clients here in the Bay Area, and I started doing those companies, social media marketing. And that's how my name started traveling. Oh, nice. The social media guru. So a couple of TV stations, also TV channels, they kind of interviewed me. So my name kind of kept on growing. And then I was on nonprofits as board of directors or something. And then, it just kept on going and traveling. And I just hang out every day, but then the education, which I have received is what has brought me to this level. So I always say that being educated is very important, and again, you can do education at any age. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm still trying to enhance my growth in my career by doing something or the other towards my career's growth. I still study. It's very tough, trust me, at this age, because, you're like, you've got 100 things going besides cooking. So to take care of your families, but then I still do it, and keep on going. So we can study at any age, and it just kind of our brain can grasp all that, and then it helps us in the long run.
And you know what? It makes me think again about the person who's going to say, I don't have any money, I'm not educated. All you need to educate yourself in, now correct me if I'm wrong, is the next step. Correct. Of this process, right? We're not saying you need to go get a master's degree or a doctorate degree. Just read another book, read another article, go online. There's so much stuff.
Absolutely. There's so much online to, read and get understanding. And there are always question and answers also, right? There are attorneys who've given a lot of advice and all, especially in the legal matters and the legalities. So there's always a lot to read. And then, you just have to kind of comprehend it and understand from that perspective, what do you want to do? How do you want to do? Because every case is different. Every case is not the same. So you have to go like that.
Yeah. As you were saying, you met this person. I was on this board. I got, you weren't isolated. You broadened yourself out. And
Joan, I just went out in the community and started helping.
Exactly.
And I got to learn the system. I got to learn the norms. I got to learn the way of life here in US, because it wasn't really advised to me or taught to me, And then I learned, and I think I still have that thirst to learn every day.
Definitely.
I still do it. I still learn about every aspect or every, it's
Sure.
just kind of, it's
Sure.
just, it's very important, especially now. I mean, my son's 15, and to even understand the logistics, and now he's going to be going to college. So, he's got a college counselor. So I make sure I try and listen to what's going on, and, what are the next steps of that. So it's just the same. Next steps are very important.
Exactly.
You just need to learn and need to know.
Sometimes I say, just take the next indicated step. What's the next thing I have to do? Just do that.
Right.
And then, like you said, we're going to leave the results up to God. Do the next step. Do the next
Right.
step. There were several things, and I want to make sure that if you have like 3 or 5 things that you want to tell your listeners, we're coming up on a half hour already somehow.
Yeah, I know.
But you did mention that you wanted to talk about the divorce law in California. And then I thought it was really important to tell your listeners right now that, which I didn't know, ExParte Divorce in
30 days.
California means that if you don't show up, you're divorced.
Yes. And
so
that's the truth. You see, every county, every county has their own laws, or every city or state has their own laws. So the listeners or the people who are looking at us or listening to us right now have to reach out to their court system. Just go on the website; it's all mentioned there. But in California, for sure, okay, the law is ex parte in 30 days. So if your partner or your spouse basically shows that you two are separated, which is use his address and use your address as some other address, right? Now the process server is going there, trying to serve you 3 chances, 4 chances, and you're not at that address. Nobody's taking that. So that spouse is trying to show the judge, look, we tried doing the due diligence of serving the other party, and the party never took it. So the judge is like, okay, let's give them 30 days to respond. And guess what? 30 days later, the other spouse, who's the one who's got all this conniving motion in their head, and like, okay, judge, your honor, we didn't have this person show up. Then what? So judge may nicely say, okay, give them another 1 week, try serving them again. And now you again try to show, or the spouse tries to show, hey, I did try, see, the person's not taking it. Judge says, okay, done deal. You've anyways been separated because you both are living at the separate addresses. So here is it. Here's your ex parte divorce. And you won't even come to know you're already divorced. And if that conniving spouse has tried to take the child custody along with that, the spouse has been granted, whether it's a he, whether it's a she, it can be done. So again, practice your rights, make sure that you're represented well, because if your spouse is playing these kind of dirty games and you are not represented, that's when another problem can happen in the court system, because the judges don't usually listen to improper if the other party is represented and have an aggressive attorney. So it's better that for that particular, or even for some hearings, hire an attorney to represent you. If the other party is not represented, then you have fair chances, because judge would listen to you, would listen to the other party, and then make up their decision. But it's very important to know the laws of the land. It's very important to know the laws of your state. What does the state say? What does the family law guidelines are? Very important. So those guidelines need to be followed. And California, unfortunately, is still on the 30-day ex parte. And yes, anybody who can prove that they tried the due diligence of serving the other party and they haven't responded can get an ex parte divorce or a child custody easy. And then you keep on fighting and telling them, while they'll try to snatch your children away and say, hey, the child belongs to me now because I have this court order of full sole legal custody, and also the divorce with no alimony or no child support or no spousal support. It all depends, again, how long you were married. So all those laws need to be understood. And I've tried giving whatever resources I can, but even right now I'm saying every state has their guidelines. Just look into it online, or just go to your local city's courtroom. Self-help centers can help you.
In library, I find librarians are very helpful.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so if we had to say 3 to 5 things that you want to cover, and they also, so one is know the laws of your state. We talked about ex parte. Originally, when we were in the green room, so to speak, you talked about the importance of your immigration status. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Immigration status is important. And if you're, like I said before, if the person who has married you and has not filed for you, you are not to be blamed for that. You can actually reach out to an attorney, or you can reach out to the immigrations directly, USCIS website, and you can file on your own, or you can do whatever resources are there. Having an attorney is the best bet. If a nonprofit or somebody can help you out to do a pro bono work of those filings, that'll be great too. But all the forms are available on the USCIS website. So if you go onto it, you can download those forms and you can start the process on your own. VAWA is just another very, very critical way of getting this, because that's Violence Against Women's Act. And that also is also mentioned in my book, because here you are in a marriage where somebody has cheated you and is not trying to file for you, then you have a right to go to the immigrations and say, hey, I need to be filed in the VAWA, as long as you have enough evidence to prove that, yes, wrong was done with you. If you have all that, you can easily go and the immigrations would listen to you. I mean, all these people who are on those higher ranks, on those higher offices, who are doing due diligence, checking these cases, will not be fooled. So saying to your spouse, trying to belittle them or telling them, hey, nobody's going to listen to you. Oh, you have slept your way into the country, or you have done things like that. I mean, really, those people up there who are known in the world, American, US, immigrations is known in the world. You think people are going to be fooled? No, they won't be. So if you're a true person, and if you are an honest person and on the true path, you will be helped. So do reach out. That's the best way. And I'm available, sheetaloriauthor.com. You can reach out to me, or sheetalori.com. You can reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to give more advice or any kind of guidelines.
Looking at, is there anything else? Let's see. We have, there was a good part about being labeled as a flight risk.
So here's what happens when you're going to the court and you don't have an immigration status. Joan, the other party can take advantage of this whole case and try to turn it around. The family law doesn't care that, you were wronged, what's the immigrations, because for them, immigrations is a separate matter. We have to see what's the status of this parent. But why? Why not ask this question to that other party who's sitting there, who is a US citizen? Hey, why didn't you file for this? Or have you filed for the concerned person? Or have you filed for the mother? Why wouldn't you be doing this? Because here you're terming them as flight risk and saying they're going to run away. They're going to take the child and run away. But have you asked this question? And that's what I want the family law to understand, and the judges to ask this question. Give it maybe another 30 minutes of their time to understand, why did the US citizen, whose moral responsibility, whose ethical responsibility as a US citizen is to uphold that citizenship's name, why wouldn't this person go ahead and file for the spouse? You've had a child with the spouse. that means everything's good. So why won't you file for it? Why is this question not being asked, right? Why are they just saying, sorry, mother has to go through these step processes, 2 hours, supervised visits, 4 hours, supervised 6 hours, and then maybe overnight, maybe then. And by then the mother has to prove, or even if it is the other parent, maybe it's the father has to prove. Why does the parent have to prove? The one who has no immigration status. Why is the court not asking this simple question to the other party who's a US citizen? Hey, you are the one claiming. How are you defining this? Mm-hmm. Fine. If the parent is left in another country and they are the citizen of that country, they file for a child custody in that country, they have a right to do it, right? Mm-hmm. But if they want to give up and they say, okay, hey, I want to just go ahead and leave that order because now I'm here, I finally managed to come back and I'm residing here, or even if they're residing there, I'm going to go ahead and abide by all of the court's rules and regulations, but give me custodial time. That's my basic right. The courts don't want to do that. They want to listen to the other party who's claiming, whose attorney is jumping up and down because they're aggressive. They're paying $400 an hour. So, hey, no, they're not going to give any rights because the other parent's going to run away. That's just not right. You know, how do you know? Ask a basic question. Why did you not file for this parent? She's the mother of the child, or he's the father of the child. Why was this not filed? So these kind of basic things the court system has to understand. Mm-hmm. The court system has to understand what is our basic culture, whether it's an Indian, whether it's a Hispanic, whether it's the court has to understand the culture, you know, because today we all have kind of taken over in a lot of ways, you know. I mean, all the biggest brand names, the Indians are out there. You know, they have some amazing ranks. They are amazingly doing very well. So our culture is loved. The food is loved. Our spices are loved. So I'm just thinking, learn about the culture too. You know, there is domestic violence this side of the life too. There is situations of immigrations where the spouses are kept in without any kind of interaction with neighbors or anybody, but excuse me, understand that too. So 5 minutes, 30 minutes of a court hearing can do it. And even if you go through trials, you have to be fair, you know, can be biased. So that's what all I have to say.
Yeah, it's almost like someone should have a law that says, if you didn't do this, file a spousal status, stop everything and give her the spousal status immediately, or him. And then
that's so amazing. There you go.
And then
there you go, Joan. You just said it out loud. I never even thought about it. Yes, I think this has to be made. This kind of law has to be made. You just said it. Okay, Joan, I think we'll grant you this when the legislators pass this law.
Okay, awesome. Joan's law. But like the first violation, if you want to say, was him not filing the spousal law.
Right.
So the lesson out of that to our listeners is to make sure you see it and don't believe it. And you can research, I would imagine.
Correct.
You could research it yourself online.
Yes.
You could see, what my status is.
Right.
Right. So were there days where you were just like, I can't do this anymore?
Yep.
And what would you say to people that are just like, I tried that.
It's very easy to give up, but it takes every ounce of your body's strength to make it work in any situation, whether it's anything to do with your child, it's anything to do with your personal life. You know, I don't want to see divorces. I don't want to see all these, you know, it's just a sad state of affairs, because in the end of the day, even if you don't want to stay with the spouse, end it nicely. Don't play games. Don't ruin another human being's life. Don't try to ruin the mother or the father of your child's life, because in the end of the day, the child's going to grow up and is going to understand. However much brainwashing, alienation, any of those factors are going to be in play by the other party or the other parent who's trying to do this, the child will eventually grow up. Only two things are going to happen. One, the child will be psyched out for life and not going to be able to comprehend what's right and what's wrong in a relationship, or the child will hate the other parent who's done this, whether it's the mom, whether it's the dad. So why to even do this? Why can't just, two people who don't want to be together kind of sit down and talk it out over the table with mediators or custody evaluators or with the judges and say, okay, we'll share custody. We'll make sure we make this child's life beautiful just because our relationship can turn it like that. Let's make the child's life better. I mean, if parents start thinking like that, rather than, oh, I want this property, I want to go after that, I'm going to make this person's life miserable. Oh, she can't go out with the guys. Oh, he can't go out with the women. Rather than concentrating on all that, concentrate on what you have. Let bygones be bygones. Let the bad state, let the bad affairs be ending and just move on, because there's this amazing child you've both produced. There must be some good moments, some goodness in that relationship which has produced that child. There wasn't a rape, there wasn't any problem, so there has to be. So then think of those moments and then just try to make this child's life good. And that's all I always say, that, the child matters. We have grown up, people grow up, they keep on moving in their life. Parents have responsibilities of work and parents and families doing things. Guys will go have a beer, girls will go have a glass of wine. But that poor child, that child suffers. So why make a child suffer? And you brought this child into this world. You are responsible for that child. So I always want to say, think about the child. It's a custodial battle between both the parents, but it's also a custodial battle between the mind of a child, because it's a tug of war. The court systems don't understand it because they have limited time. They just kind of delegate their duties to the mediators or the custody evaluators or the court counsel or child's attorneys. But end of the day, the parties are the one who suffers, because attorneys are kind of always trying to, make money. Child custody evaluators will try to make money. Therapists will try to make money. Everybody does. It's an industry, like I say. But end of the day, you are suffering because you're both parents, and every court hearing comes up, you're trying to have that 1 hour session with your attorney, what to say, what to do, provide forms or whatever paperwork. And the child is now tensed up that, oh my God, what's going to happen? That shouldn't be the case. Child has to live a childhood. Can make a child go through suffering, so it's very important.
That's a great quote. Child has to live a childhood. There was a lot of really good quotes in your book.
Thank you.
When you're publicizing it, like you could do either LinkedIn or Instagram, just little quotes. Child has to have a childhood. And if they don't, then there's repercussions for the rest of their life.
Correct.
And the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking was to try to stay, the reason why we can't have these amicable discussions is because we're both emotional. The emotions are very high. Yeah. So as a coach, I try to tell my people to talk rationally, not emotionally, and not keep playing that tennis game or whatever you want to call it. Don't keep throwing the ball back on the other court. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just say nothing and just very calmly say, that's not true. Just very calmly. And it actually really scares people when you don't engage in the combat. If you just go, that's not my understanding, Your Honor. This is what I see it as, and instead of yelling. So
It's
it
an
takes
emotional upheaval out there in the courtrooms. I've seen it in my case. I've seen it in other parents' cases who you're just sitting and watching and you're like, oh my God, this is worse. The whole deal is how, and today when I'm talking to you, I'm calm, I'm composed. But those days, it was very tough, Joan, very tough, because the emotions run wild. And that's why I guess the need for these attorneys are there, because they're not emotional. You know, they are basically, we are a case for them, just like we are a case for the family law. So I guess the parties have to resolve these conflicts, you know, through them or whatever way. But I always say still, the child's needs has to be kept in mind, because the courts can say as much as they can, best interests of the child, but they actually have to understand what is the best interest of the child and who will take care of the best interests of the child. You know, listening to one party and being biased towards the other on an immigration status or other statuses, it just is not fair. You know, one has to understand who can actually give a better emotional and a mental stability support to the child. That's very important.
Another thing I got out of your book was a deep love that your family gave you, and
My
didn't.
family is just awesome. They've
And
supported me throughout. They still support me, and I wouldn't be anywhere without them. So my parents, my brothers, my sister-in-laws, my nephew, nieces, and my friends. You know, I've got a couple of friends who have been rock stars for me, like stood there, listened, and so very supportive. Yes. So I still thank my good stars that whatever I've been through in life. I mean, nobody could have ever thought that someone like me would be going through this, but yes, I have. And my family and friends have been supportive. And today, I mean, I have a huge network of friends and acquaintances and people who I know in the community where I am in San Francisco Bay Area. And it's just awesome. And now I think in the last 8 years since my radio show, I have made a network in the entire nation because I interview people from all over the country. You know, so yeah, it's just amazing that the network's grown, and I'm thankful every day to those people.
You know, a couple times you said, you know, that women like me or someone like me. And so I imagine, and I think I got it out of your book, that at one time, or women in your situation, sometimes you're going to have to swallow your pride and say, yes, I am very successful, and I made this mistake, or now I did this and I'm in trouble. In the book, you know, your mom gets frank with you. She talks to you bluntly and says, you know, what she thinks about him and the situation. And so for your listeners that are like, well, I can't tell anyone about this. I'm going to be so embarrassed. My family's going to lose their status, whatever. What kind of...
It's a culture, Joan. It's a cultural thing, and I think it happens everywhere, right?
Definitely.
When you do something on your own, even, you know, today at this age with the parents, we are still kind of like, we don't want to tell them the bad part or the sad part, because they're going to get worried, they're going to get upset. So it's just the same. And I think even with our kids are like that, right? They just don't want to really upset us, get good grades to make sure the parents are not doing, I mean, that's their life. But it's just, I guess, yes, I would like to say this to other women, that my character in the story for this custodial battle, Ritika, she's very, very stressed out when she's talking to her mom and saying, no, everything's okay, and I trust and this and that. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not okay. If you have been through something wrong or something bad, just go ahead and acknowledge it, because you know what? You will get support and help. And if you don't, you'll get it from somewhere else.
You'll get it from somebody else. Exactly.
You know, so just try and be honest, because being honest to your own self first will be making the path to be honest to the others who are around you, who can support you. The support system is very important, in everybody's life, because without support system, we can crash. And so, I would say my brothers are my pillar of strength, giving me support, motivating me. My sister-in-laws are just amazing. And I have amazing, amazing parents. My friends are amazing. And they've been there with me for long. And I think over the period of years, I have connected with all my school friends and everybody who's reminded me who I used to be, how I was. And
Fun.
so it has, yes, I'm telling you, and that has actually now, because of that support and that whole belief, I've become more confident. And I'm more, and definitely my son, who's my pillar of strength in every form and way. And he tells me, like, if I do anything, he goes, Mama. And even right now, before I just got ready for this, and I had to ask him, do these earrings look okay? Aren't they looking through, And he just like, oh yeah, they look good, Mama.
Nice.
So for me, his approval, his acknowledgement is very important too, because he has been there with me and been my strength. So again, support system is a must, and we all get it in some form or the way. You're a support system right now. You're interviewing me. You're talking about my book, Joan. That's a support. Same way, any kind of support your friends, your acquaintances, your community gives to you, it's a support, and we all can get it, provided we ask. If we don't ask, we won't get. So to all the women out there and all the parents out there, go ask, but first be honest to yourself. Be true to yourself. Because if you're not true to your own self, your own conscience will nag you later. So that's very important. And miracles do happen.
Every
if
day.
you believe in them.
Every day. If you had to go all the way back, for some reason I flipped open to page 83, which is you're talking about how courts can detect whether a parent is using kids as a pawn. And it just shocked me to see narcissistic anxiety, because I just think there's a lot of narcissists out there, and I've dealt with some myself. And I think they target women like us because we're overly trusting.
Correct.
And if you had to go all the way back, did you see, when was the first time you really saw a red flag?
In the courts, or are we talking about?
In general, like when you're still in London or whatever?
I guess when I got married, and I guess I had to go for a meeting because I was still working, and I got married in London, so I had to go for a meeting, and I guess the father just vanished, didn't talk to me for a few hours, and I couldn't understand what did I do wrong. And later on, I was told, "Oh, we just got married and you went for a meeting." But I was like, "Hey, I'm still working. I have to go and do my last few weeks of work, because this was never expected. It's just out of a sudden this has happened. You proposed to me out of a sudden. You did this." So I guess that was a big red flag, that the person was overly possessive and didn't want me to kind of meet with other people or something of that sort. And that kind of should have made me understand the mentality of the person, or the narcissistic quality of the person. But unfortunately didn't understand at that time, because at that time you're in that mode where you're like, oh, he's just possessive. He's just being, so I guess
he loves me so much. He doesn't exactly.
You just don't understand that was the biggest red flag, saying the person, if can't even bear this right now and you're in London, what's going to happen in America? Which anyway, as I said, it was all long back. If I could, try and give some kind of insight or positivity to other parents, other listeners, and other people who are watching us, it would be a great pleasure and help, because I think everybody needs it. and you're not alone. You're not the first person who's gone through it. You will not be the last person. The cases in our family law are just amazingly increasing every day with divorce, child custody, domestic violence, and many others. So you just have to understand. And, I do want to just give out one last message out to the community through your show, Joan. In our Indian society, in our Indian community, women kind of are not really understanding that this is okay if somebody is not treating you right, or it's just okay to go and talk to a counselor or a therapist, or take a marriage counseling, or talk to a coach to kind of get that confidence up like you. But it's just that they are so hell-bent in trying to just collude in their mind that, oh, I'm okay, I have a status in the society, my husband's this, and my kids are going through this. No, I'm okay. If you think you're going into depressions, you're going into problematic situations where you're just trying to look good, feel good, but the fact is you're not feeling good from inside. You're not having that confidence from inside. And so you're trying to be overconfident, then go get help. It's not a taboo. It is not a taboo to say, hey, I can be divorced. Hey, I can be without this man and all. You have a right. Or go take some counseling. There's always a way out. There's always help there. There's always support there, but you just have to get it. Just don't live a life where you're sacrificing 20 years of your life just because you want the tag there, married.
Right. Oh, yeah. And you have a whole chapter on traditions and how they make it more complicated.
Right.
Okay, so tell us where we can get a hold of you and where we can buy the book, and anything you want your listeners to know about getting a hold of you and working with you, or having you as a speaker, whatever they would want to do.
I'm available for speaking arrangements. I'm available for public speaking. I've been doing that for some time. I'm on SheetalOhri.com. I'm on SheetalOhriAuthor.com. I'm on social media, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, just Facebook. Connect to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you or support you, or even talk in any events or anything about these topics, or how to kind of motivate women into understanding that, they're not alone. Everybody's going through it. So, you're just not alone.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. All the best to you. I know we're going to see each other again. If you want to come back on again, let's do it.
Let's do it, Joan, for sure.
Yeah.
And go ahead, buy my book, Custodial Battle. It's on Amazon, and you can even go to the link on SheetalOhriAuthor.com, and you can get a link from there to Amazon. So show the support, buy the book, and thank you, Joan. Thank you once again for this amazing show, and thank you for what you're doing with the community, and you're making a difference.
Thank you. I think whoever designed your cover, it was so profound. Wait, let me get it.
Thank you. It's the mother standing outside and the child side, and she can just go to him. It's like just this much of a distance and can cover it. It took years to cover that distance.
Oh my gosh, 10 years worth of distance in like 10 feet. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who's listening.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
We'll see you next